Yeah, well, welcome to Not Another Baptist Road Trip. Today, we are going to Corona, New Mexico.
We're drinking what?
We're not drinking any.
Oh.
Well, I'm drinking black coffee, and you're drinking your sissy coffee. We are going to Corona, New Mexico for the Mountain Valley Baptist Association Pastors Fellowship. If they feed us, we will come.
Right. We will drive.
It was like youth group all over again, man.
That's right. Apparently, we will drive 100 miles if you give us free coffee. Or in your case, 140.
140, yeah. Well, we have started this podcast to explore church planting, church revitalization, and other Southern Baptist goodies we come up with on the fly. And today, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing.
That's
we
right.
have
On the fly.
No script, nothing. We are a month away from our 1-year birthday.
Man, that's nuts.
That's nuts. That's nuts that you've been listening.
People have listened to us for a year, and while we are eternally grateful, we still don't quite understand why.
No, I can't figure that out at all. This is definitely a train wreck today. If you're hearing a little road noise, that is because we are driving, and so you might hear Kyle roll over on the side of the road again and start going on these rumble strips because he's not paying attention to Wayla. But we are driving there. I am doing well at Mayhill. We had back to church Sunday last week, and if we had all of our regulars, we had a bunch of people go to the fair. Which, I mean, that's something I would expect to do in Texas.
It's county fair season, that's right.
That's the Albuquerque one.
Oh, state fair too. Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know anybody went to that,
Yep.
But they went there. We had some going to the reunions, some to funerals. We had a ton of visitors.
That's awesome.
And I challenged our folks to invite one person. That's all you have to do. I said, I don't care if it's somebody that goes to this church. Just invite one person. And they did. And I was talking to all these visitors after the service, and I mean, there was a ton of them. It was unreal. And I said, how'd you hear about our church? Well, so-and-so invited me. I was like,
that's great.
Awesome. And so it was really good. And we baptized another lady named Price. She works at the Mayhill Cafe, and really just last week, to back up a little more, last week, it was just a comedy of errors, kind of like this podcast, but in the service. Like the sound system just got possessed all of a sudden, and my microphone went nuts, and then the computer just fizzled right when we're turning on for the praise and worship songs. Everything that could go wrong went wrong on that Sunday. And I'll be honest that I was coming down the steps to do the invitation, and I really just wanted to pray, get it over with, and go home and take a nap.
Yep.
That was all that was on my mind at that point. And I got all kinds of convicted, because as soon as I pray or whatever, I see out of the corner of my eye this girl pretty well running to the front and said, I want to accept Jesus. And I was like, praise God.
That's awesome.
And
that's a mood changer in a heartbeat.
My second question was like, why? Like, did you not see what happened today? But again, how the Holy Spirit does not need our sound systems, does not need our computers. His word does not return void. He doesn't promise that about our sound systems and all that kind of stuff. And so that was a very convicting reminder, and yes, it was absolutely a mood changer. Well, she got baptized this week.
That's awesome.
And wonderful service, great number of visitors, all that kind of stuff. And then right before I get up to preach our evening service, because we're a little more holy than First Alamo, we have our evening service, and I got a message. One of our members had flipped his car, survived it somehow, was getting out to flag down help, and then was run over and killed on impact. That's right before I get up to preach. And I don't know, like, I didn't know him very well. I'd met him one time, but I don't know who in the church really knows him. And so we start with prayer. That's obviously going to be the first thing that I bring up. And I don't know the best way to do that. Just, kind of like we were talking before we went live, talking about budget needs or whatever. Sometimes you just have to say, we need to have a family meeting. And so I kind of did something like that. I don't know any better way to tell you guys this, but I just jumped right in. And immediately some were very visibly upset that either went to school with them or things like that. So it was a tough roller coaster of a Sunday. For sure, because you went from higher than high with the baptisms and the visitors and all that kind of stuff. Had a great nap. Everything was great that day, and then right before you get up to preach, you hear that.
Yeah.
And so you know that automatically means this coming week is going to have all of that kind of stuff to deal with too, as people start to find out and things like that. And that was on top of this Saturday. We have a funeral for another member that had gotten run over by a train, and so it's just been a heavy few months, or really year and a half, that we haven't had a natural death. And it's not like I want one, but we haven't had.
Right.
Everything has been either suicides, murders, or tragic accidents, and that's the stuff that seminary can prepare you for in some sense, but some of that you just have to learn to wade through it and learn. The best thing you can do is to shut your mouth and listen.
Yeah.
And so
that's right.
That's not really what we're talking about today, but that was kind of on my heart. That I've learned sometimes just give them a hug and just let them talk.
Yeah.
And don't try and have the answer.
Yeah, because part of pastoring is walking with folks through the stuff of life, right? And maybe oftentimes that's happy. You get to experience birthdays and anniversaries and births and weddings and all that, but at the same time you walk with them through tragedies. And in your case, I would say you've experienced more than most in your first 18 months there in Mayhill, but that's the reality. We walk with people through life, whether it's the ups or the downs or anywhere in between.
And I want to say something along those lines, that I don't know what type of Enneagram, however you say that, or I know that I'm introverted, even with the Christmas suit that you always like to throw out. That whatever the personality is, where when you're having a bad day or whatever, if somebody's having a bad day, I kind of take that on.
Yeah.
And so when somebody's depressed or when somebody's happy, that's that rubs off on me.
Right.
And so all of that kind of stuff makes it very heavy. And so Sunday night, I'm going to bed just like, man, all of my people are hurting.
Yeah.
I know what's coming this week with finance meetings. It's just like, man, I'm not ready for this. And I had somebody on Twitter reply to a post about it, that remember to pull back. Find some time this week to pull back, pray, read, do something fun, and don't get weighed down on it. And so this isn't our official topic today, but if you're dealing with something at your church, remember to take some time for yourself and for your family, so that you give them 100% as well. And don't take all of that kind of stuff. You can't let somebody else, depression or sadness or whatever, take you down, because you have to be able to give them 100% too.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but that's not our topic,
and that's why
really
you're with
sad.
me today.
Yeah,
right?
you're going to make me
because I'm gonna cheer you up.
Yeah,
and by driving 100 miles to get some free food.
But you're driving the speed limit, so that
I am driving the speed limit. Yes,
it's going to take us 6 hours
because
to get there.
Because I love Jesus. I drive the speed limit. And,
well, I have Charles Spurgeon in my truck, and he allows me to drive faster.
Oh, okay, I see. And he agrees with you, and you do.
He does.
Right?
He just bounces it. Yeah. But so we're talking today about the association. That's where we're headed.
That's where we're headed.
So we might as well talk about it, wax eloquent about it, and I don't have any thoughts. So go ahead.
That may be a first, man. That you shared some pretty heavy stuff. So let's turn it lighter. And
I've talked the whole time.
That's true.
This thing's been like 10 minutes.
I've listened to you.
So you listened to me?
And I've listened to you.
You did?
I've listened to you well.
Did you learn anything?
Yes. Yes.
No? Okay.
So the association, I feel like kind of for a long time associations got bad raps. And one of the things that encourages me is among the younger guys, especially the younger guys that I know, like we seem to have a passion to see the local association revived, and just like churches need to be revitalized and revived, I think the same is true of a lot of our associations. Associations were formed to serve the local churches, to kind of serve as a hub for some ministry resources, a hub for fellowship, like we're going today. This is not a business meeting. We're just going to hang out with some pastors in our association.
Like no agenda, just hang out.
That's right. Yep. Absolutely. And so for if you're in a setting where you're maybe somewhat rural or somewhat isolated, man, cling to your local association. So let's talk really quickly kind of about the role that a local association can play in the life of not only you as a pastor, but in the life of your church as well.
Well, one thing is that for us is kind of the first place to go for help,
right?
For training. If I'm going to be out of town or get sick or something like that, one of the ways that our associational missionary, is that what we call them now?
Yes, associational mission strategist is the official title that things are switching to.
The director of missions, when I'm out or if I get sick or something like that, a severe illness, in the church may not have somebody that can step in and preach. Right. That's usually the first person I can turn to. If there's no help there, then you can take it to the next step of BCNM and get somebody from there. But that's usually, we're fortunate to have one within our church that can preach. And so Gary, in our case, can become kind of the second stop. Right. And then when we've got a special event or something that we want to celebrate, when we had our 115th anniversary, I know y'all have your 120th coming up. Yep. Our 115th, he came and presented a gift from the association. But you touched on some of the stuff. They're there for training. In our case, we're trying to push some church planting. And so they're kind of mobilizing. They don't plant churches. Right. Just like, in a sense, NAM doesn't plant churches. The SBC doesn't plant. Churches plant churches. Right. And so we're trying to come alongside. And in the best way I think I could describe Gary might be the cheerleader for these churches. Hey, this is the need. Let's come alongside and see who can do what, and let's make it happen. And to move from talking about it to, okay, who's going to lead the way? Right. And so that's one of the areas. For me, you mentioned being in the middle of cotton picking nowhere, and we are. I don't have pastors in my own town that I can hang out with. We've got a pastor, kind of loose group of pastors up on the mountain of Presbyterians, Methodists, everything. They get together occasionally. It's sort of hit or miss. But every month I know that somewhere, even if it means, like in this case, we're going to drive 140 miles, I'm going to get to hang out with 20 pastors or so. And what's neat about it, as you and I both know, is us doing this drive, I can have a great or a horrible Sunday, and you might have had a great or horrible Sunday, and sometimes they're both the same, and that's a really depressed drive. But more often than not, one of us has had a great weekend, and we can encourage the other. And then you get to triple, quadruple that when you go with a host of 10, 20 pastors. Yeah, that's right. And, so a big word that we throw around in Southern Baptist life is cooperate, right? We cooperate together. We have the cooperative program. I thought you were going to say controversy.
No. Well, we have some of that too, but the word nice Wiley throw nice Wiley name drop there. That's great. Yes, you Wiley'd it. So, but we are a cooperative body as Southern Baptists, right? And so the association is really the first level where we get to cooperate with other brothers and sisters of like faith and like order. So I'll take part in our local ministerial alliance, but as you mentioned, it's folks from across the theological spectrum, and that doesn't mean we can't partner together for some ministry and to see the kingdom of God advance in our community. But for me, when I'm together with our association, I know I'm with my Southern Baptist brothers, those who have the same goals in mind, those who share the same theological convictions, and to me, there's a deeper level of fellowship there than among our ministerial alliance. And so we cooperate in the local association to do things that many churches, especially if you're a small or normative-sized church, that you just can't do on your own. So in recent days, we've seen Hurricane Florence come through the Carolinas, and there's a lot of talk right now about Southern Baptist disaster relief and the teams that will be going to the Carolinas to take care of that. In our association, we have a disaster relief trailer. Now, I don't know of any churches in our association, and most there's one, maybe two, that could handle something like that on their own. But through the cooperation of the local association, we're able to have this trailer and to send teams from our association really around the country now to go and help relieve these disasters. You mentioned church planting. Again, there's maybe one church in our association that can handle taking on a church plant by themselves, but the association allows us to cooperate together and plant a church together as a team from a team of churches, and that it's a wonderful fellowship that we get to have. And again, it goes back to our underlying belief that while we're autonomous, and you're going to do things at Mayhill a certain way.
Yeah.
We're going to do things at First Baptist Alamogordo a certain way, and some of the ways, even though we share theological convictions, some of the ways that those are played out in ecclesiology may be a little bit different, but we can cooperate together because we have the same theological convictions on a deeper level, as the association. And I know you're serving on that church planning team right now with the association. I am the vice moderator, and here in October I'm supposed to be nominated as the moderator. So as long as Hensley doesn't throw a fit,
I am. I'm gonna stand up and ask a question.
Yeah. I guess that means I don't get to ask questions if I'm the moderator.
I know.
It's the perfect job for me.
It is,
because I don't have to ask a question.
I want to ask what's the guy at the SBC that's done like the same job for 1,000 years?
Oh, Dr. McCarty?
No. Well, yeah.
He's done
no,
that
this
too.
is at the recording secretary or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna move that you are the moderator until Jesus comes back.
Until Jesus comes back.
Don't ever give Kyle a open mic and the opportunity to ask a question. He will fail miserably. But speaking of Kyle, I noticed that you are wearing skinny jeans and a plaid shirt, and you've got a latte and a International Harvester hat that has the NAM logo. So I can only assume that you have now assumed a new position because you're dressed like the NAM. I mean, this is the NAM uniform that you're wearing right now.
This is the NAM starter kit. The official uniform.
So you have some news then.
I do have some news.
What is the news?
So
you're not pregnant.
No, not.
What's your news? Hey, Wayla, I just saw it. He went 1 mile per hour over 65.
That's not true.
I just saw
fake news.
That's true.
Yeah, so at the beginning of September, I came on with the North American Mission Board's replant team. We know Mark Clifton. We've had him on the podcast. We did a series through his book, Reclaiming Glory. Mark heads up the replanting team, and so they asked me to come on as the director of replanter development. That's not quite as random as Jonathan Howe's title that we made fun of him for.
It's about as long.
But it is long. Yeah, it sounds really impressive. Basically what that means, so I'm not leaving.
When are you moving? When are you moving to Alpharetta?
I'm not moving.
When are you moving to Alpharetta?
I'm not moving to Alpharetta. And if you notice on my Facebook profile, I've not yet added this job on there because I'm afraid that
is going to be a dumpster fire. Because Jonathan's going to show up and say, welcome to Nashville.
Welcome down. Yeah,
I tell you that'll happen.
So no, I'm not. I'm still pastoring First Baptist Church Alamogordo. This is just a side gig, doing some social media stuff. So you should definitely go look up the Church Replanters Facebook page, Church Replanters, all one word, and the Replant Collective Twitter feed, and follow those because we'll be updating with some replant and revitalization stories. I'm really excited to get some of those out. The first one of which that we'll be sharing is from Michael Cooper at Maybank Community Church, a good friend of ours, and you actually filled his pulpit. Grace, sorry.
Anyway,
sorry.
Yes,
in
I have fulfilled. Yeah, I've filled his pulpit before, and he when we're done, he said, thank you for that, and has never invited me back. But Michael's a good guy. That'll be good. Yeah. He sent in an article for Lifeway Pastors, and so it's really neat. So apparently what happens is we get somebody on the podcast, and then we end up working for them.
Apparently. That's the way it works. Yeah.
It's really neat. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve the convention in different ways, and to use some of our time that is certainly stretched thin, but opportunities to serve and come alongside pastors. You come alongside replanters and revitalizers.
So let me make just a quick plug for that. Man, we say this is a podcast about church planting and church revitalization. So if you're in a revitalization setting, I want to hear your story. You can get in touch with me through Facebook. You can get in touch through the Church Replanters Facebook page, but we want to hear your story about what God's doing as you're working in many cases in hard places, in churches that have been declining or dying. And we want to see what God is doing through men who've been faithful to take these calls to difficult places. And for us, I don't know about you, man. This has been a journey, and I'm excited to get to hear stories of other guys in this.
Stop.
I'm excited to get to hear stories of other guys that are in similar situations to ours, and see how God's at work throughout the Southern Baptist Convention.
You are. I don't think. No, I'm just joking. I love it. And that's what's neat about both of ours is we're going to get to hear stories, and what's neat about the Lifeway Pastor deal is you've got big church guys, normative church. See, I did that because you're next to me.
Normative,
I would have called them small.
Yeah.
And then Clifton would have gone. Yeah.
You're in the same boat, man.
I know, man.
My word.
But anyway, it's really neat, and we love coming alongside you guys. And so stay tuned. A lot of stuff is happening. We've got a month away from our 1-year anniversary, and so we're gonna call it quits on that episode and be done. Fake news on that one, but we'll keep this thing going. But until next time, we're gonna throw all of this stuff in the show notes where you can connect with Kyle on all the replant stuff, so they think they actually made a good decision there. But thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at NAB_podcast, or on Facebook at Not Another Baptist Podcast, or at our website at www.notanother.baptist.podcast. And like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And Kyle, why don't you send us out?
All right. Well, until next time, may your latte be as spicy as pumpkins. And no, that doesn't really work, does it?
That's the dumbest thing.
No.
Try again.
May your coffee be as black as night and as bold as the gospel you declare.
Unless you're Kyle and you like pumpkin spice.
You're just jealous because you don't like them.
Well, I do like I think it's called a caramel macchiato.
Oh,
if I ever get a free one and Rebecca's not with me, because she gets that.
So you have your own girly drink that you like?
I do.
I'm going to make... All right, good. Now I'm going to make fun of you.
Now you know, about once a year when I actually earn a free one, because all of my stars always run out. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, y'all.
God bless.
Take care.
And if you're Baptist, be a part of your associations.
Yes.
Kyle said so.
That's right.
And if they feed you, I say so.